The Auditor-General provides assurance to Parliament on the accountability and performance of the Victorian public sector. The Auditor-General conducts financial audits and performance audits and reports on the results of these audits to Parliament. On the 16th of September 2015, the Auditor-General tabled his performance audit report, Regional Growth Fund Outcomes and Learnings. The Regional Growth Fund, or RGF, provided grants for development of regional Victoria over the past 4 years. The audit found that there were weaknesses in the design and implementation of the RGF, which means the Department of Economic Development, Jobs, Transport and Resources, or the Department, cannot demonstrate value for money or achievement of the RGF goals to date. The audit also found that the outcomes being attributed to and reported are not accurate and inflate the RGF's achievements. There is a need to improve transparency in the funding process and develop and implement a robust monitoring and evaluation framework that accurately reports on outcomes and provides assurance that the value for money is being achieved. The RGF allocated $570 million over 4 years for funding to local councils, regional infrastructure projects, private businesses and other government agencies. It had 2 long-term goals relating to developing a prosperous Victoria and improving the quality of life for regional Victorians. The RGF had 5 main sub-programs as shown on this slide. This slide provides an overview of the RGF sub-programs. The 3 significant programs were the Economic Infrastructure Program that provided funding for regional infrastructure projects, allocating $295 million. This included $124 million for the Energy for the Regions program that involves the supply of natural gas to regional towns. The Local Government Infrastructure Program that allocated $100 million to regional councils, and the Putting Locals First program that provided approximately $101 million for gaps in services and infrastructure in rural communities. This audit examined how our previous recommendations from the 2012 Management of the Provincial Victoria Growth Fund report have been implemented by the Department, whether value for money and intended outcomes were being achieved by the RGF, and how the lessons learnt were being applied to the new Regional Jobs and Infrastructure Fund. The audit scope included Regional Development Victoria as the main agency within the Department. Activities from 2011 to June 2015 were covered in the audit. The Department primarily used a pipeline grants model that requires a high degree of transparency in the pre-application processes, as projects are not selected through an open or competitive process. Applications were only provided to potential recipients after undertaking pre-application discussions. We found that the pre-application processes for the major Economic Infrastructure Program were not documented and lacked evidence upon which to base funding decisions. For the Putting Locals First program, there was better documentation with evidence of pre-application discussions. We found that the assessment process included a degree of subjectivity. Weighted criteria and targets were not applied to all programs or used consistently when they did exist. Our ability to assess the value for money considerations at the assessment stage was limited because of a lack of comparable data, insufficient benchmarks and targets, and the lack of documentation of the pre-application process for the Economic Infrastructure Program. This is significant given almost all applications received were approved for funding. The Department did not develop and implement an effective monitoring and evaluation framework in a timely manner, and the framework required a substantial revision after 18 months. Limited monitoring and reporting of outcomes was undertaken, and the Department placed a heavy reliance on an external consultant to evaluate the RGF, and there is still no evaluation of RGF outcomes. Despite limitations with evaluation, the Department has reported significant achievements for jobs and investments. However, the job and investment outcomes reported by the Department are potentially misleading as they inflate the actual achievements of the RGF. We found that reported job numbers primarily relate to expected rather than actual jobs created. For example, in ministerial reports, the Department claimed the RGF is expected to create over 6,000 direct jobs, and in budget paper reporting, the Department stated that over 1,000 jobs were created as a result of the RGF to date, whereas the actual jobs created and verified to date are 167. It is also doubtful all job and investment claims are directly attributable to the RGF. This table shows a selection of the projects that received a small amount of RGF funding. However, the department claims all of the expected jobs for the entire project, not only those which could reasonably be attributed to the RGF. This table shows 6 projects which received a small portion of RGF funding compared to the total project costs, but all of the funds were claimed as leverage funds due to the RGF. These 6 projects, for which RGF provided only $7.67 million, are claimed to have leveraged $518.23 million of funding. If these 6 projects were excluded from the 1,800 projects that the RGF funded, the ratio of overall leveraged dollars falls from 3 leveraged dollars per $1 of RGF funding to 2 leveraged dollars per $1 of RGF funding. We have made 9 recommendations that focus on the key areas requiring improvement. 5 recommendations relate to improving existing grant management processes. 2 recommend improving evaluation activities, and 2 relate to demonstrating achievement of outcomes and value for money of the state's investment in the regions. The Auditor-General is concerned that the Department does not fully acknowledge the significant issues raised and reflected in his recommendations. The Auditor-General urges the Department to take action to fully address all of his recommendations and address the identified issues. This slide summarises the key messages from the audit, which are that there was limited assurance that the best possible projects were shortlisted, the assessment process was not robust and value for money considerations were not evident, evaluation activities were not effectively managed, and to date there is no evaluation of RGF outcomes, and outcomes reported are potentially misleading and do not provide an accurate reflection of RGF achievements. In summary, the Department cannot demonstrate it achieved value for money or expected outcomes from the state's investment through the RGF. Management of the Provincial Victoria Growth Fund is a relevant audit and was tabled in 2012. All our reports are available on our website. If you have any questions about this or other reports, or if you have anything else you would like to discuss with us, including ideas for future audit topics, please call us on 03 8601 7000 or contact us via our website.